livable wage, they broke the law in order to feed their families. But in the 1940s, the United States government decided to upgrade Irish Americans to white status. They decided to upgrade the Italian Americans to white status. They decided to upgrade the Jewish Americans to white status. And as part of that upgrade, they gave them an economic stimulus package. What did they give the Italians when they upgraded them to white status? They gave them the fire departments in the black community. What did they give the Irish when they decided to upgrade them to white status? They gave them the police departments in the black community. What did they do for Jewish Americans when they decided to upgrade them to white status? They gave them the civil service, municipal government jobs in the black inner city districts that they still control in most major metropolitan areas to this very day. In other words, to deal with the violence of the European gangs, they gave them an economic opportunity. Black people simply stepped in and occupied the former underworld that was created, maintained, and perpetuated by whites. The black community, we are also responsible. We are responsible because we spend $2 billion a year on Air Jordan sneakers and almost no jobs or independent schools for our children. We are complicit because we spend $30 billion a year on hair and beauty care with almost no jobs and schools for our children. We are complicit because we spend $800 million a year on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork, financing our own cancer, financing our own morbidity, financing our own premature death. But yet black teenage boys and black teenage girls have to go and sell drugs. They have to go and steal cars. They have to go and hustle credit cards. They have to go and beg non-African people for a job because their own community is too concerned with being comfortable that they're not looking out for the next generation. One of the biggest differences between us and all the other ethnic nations in America is that the other ethnic nations are concerned about the future of not only their children or their grandchildren or their great-grandchildren, but other ethnic nations are concerned about the future of their great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren. Mexicans are thinking 8 generations ahead of time. Arabs are thinking 8 generations ahead of time. Native Americans are thinking 8 generations ahead of time. Latinos are thinking 8 generations ahead of time. Irish and Italian, European, Jew, Anglo-Saxon, they're thinking 8 generations ahead of time. That's almost 200 years. But black folks, the American Negro, we're thinking about ourselves, maybe our children, maybe our grandchildren. And that's not going to get it done. Because as you stand here today, only 1 out of every 4 black boys in America will graduate from high school. As you stand here today, 2 out of every 4 black boys in America will be evaluated for ADHD, conduct disorder, oppositional defiant disorder. And most that will be evaluated will subsequently be prescribed dangerous psychiatric medication. They will be given Adderall. They will be given Concerta. They will be given Meditate. They will be given Cycler. They will be given Prozac, Paxil, Risperdal, Depakote in order to deal with emotional problems that grow out of black family dysfunction and white supremacist marginalization. Isn't it amazing that in the state of Illinois, most black men in your jail are in your jail County Prison right now. Most of the brothers in Cook County Prison are there for nonviolent drug-related offenses, for selling cocaine on the street. But isn't it hypocritical for a government to lock up hundreds of thousands of black men in Cook County Jail and across the Illinois penitentiary system for selling crack, but they will give that same cocaine to that man's 4-year-old son? They will give that same cocaine to that man's 5-year-old son. They will give that same cocaine to that man's 6-year-old daughter. And instead of calling it crack, they will call it Adderall. Instead of calling it crack, they will call it Concerta. Instead of calling it crack, they will call it Ritalin and Cycler. And the same crack that's locking up black men all across Chicago is being given to black boys every day so they can sit still long enough to learn about Christopher Columbus, so they can sit still long enough to learn about Helen Keller, so they can sit still long enough to learn about Anne Frank and Columbus and Vespucci and George Washington and Alexander Hamilton and Lincoln. Why in the hell does a black boy need to be medicated in order to be educated? Why are we allowing black children in Chicago to be medicated so they can be educated? If a child needs medication in order to receive an education, something must be wrong with the education. To my parents, I hope you're listening to me very well right now. I'm going to say this again, and I've been saying it for 25 years, but some of you still have not been listening. But for the sake of my little brothers and sisters that you are raising in your homes, I hope you listen to this wisdom when I give it to you. Wisdom number one: if you do not plan to medicate your children, then there's no need for an ADHD evaluation. Let me say that again, because some of us are stuck on stupid. You walk into these Chicago charter schools, and you walk into these Chicago public schools, and you walk into these Chicago private schools, and you let these people tell you that your child has a disability that you can't even see. They tell you your child has a disability you can't even measure. They tell you your child has a disability that doesn't even show itself on an x-ray. The disability can't even show itself on a CAT scan. The disability can't even show itself in a blood sample. The disability can't even show itself in a urine sample. So you're letting people tell you your child has a disability that can't even be proven to exist. And then you run off to the psychologist. You run off to the psychiatrist. You run off to the clinical social worker. You run off to the licensed professional counselor and get a diagnosis. And then after they get this diagnosis, you take